Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Tiny Brains podcast. I'm Kevin Joyce, CEO at Tiny Brains, and with me I have Peter Graham, the Brigadier of Brains at Tiny Brains. Say hello, Peter.
Hello, Peter.
Wonderful stuff. Today we're on the back end of GDC, so forgive me if I'm a little croaky and fall asleep halfway through this, but the jet lag is surely kicking in at this point. Um, but GDC, it was quite good this year. For everyone who did attend and I met with, thank you very much for chatting with me about VR and all the whiskies that you bought me. I very much appreciate it. But the general consensus for those who weren't there is that GDC has come back in a big way. So I myself have attended many GDCs. I can't remember exactly how many, but I'm pushing maybe 11, 12, something like that. And it's always been a good event. I obviously missed the COVID years and I didn't attend last year. And the word that I heard was that last year was a bit of a downbeat. It was a slow comeback. But this year, GDC was back in force, and along with it, VR. There was plenty of VR being showcased on the floor, around in the local hotel lobbies. There was people on the street trying the Vision Pro. It was great. VR has come back pretty hard, or XR, sorry, as a whole has come back pretty hard at GDC this year, which is great considering all the negativity that has been around in the industry a bit of late. So yeah, it was super wonderful to see everybody there. See people excited still. There was a couple of XR specific events and parties going on around the town, which I went to and met loads of new people, new faces in the industry, which again is always great. It's lovely to see all the old school people from back in 2013 with the Kickstarter and so on. But getting new faces in is important to VR. So for everybody out there that's just started in VR or is thinking about starting, come join us. You're more than welcome. The more people we have in VR, the better it is for everybody.
That's good to hear it, Kev. I'm
Yeah,
slightly jealous that I
positivity.
didn't get to go. My last
Yes.
GDC was 2022, I believe. So, yeah,
A little bit of positivity
that's
never
good.
hurt anyone, Pete.
Yeah, I like that. I like positive attitude to start the year.
And moving on with the positivity, Oculus. What's Oculus, I hear you say? Oculus is something that is very near and dear to all of our hearts, those of us that have been in VR for a while, and it kind of slumped away. But the name is being kept alive with a new announcement from Meta at GDC. Pete?
Yes, well, the Oculus brand is still alive in terms of Oculus Publishing. And Oculus Publishing has launched they call it a prototype initiative, and it's called Oculus Ignition. And essentially, what they're after are new up and coming developers to build games for the Quest 3. And yeah, essentially, they are. If you've formed a new company recently, then they want to hear from you. They've got a bit to spend, so
So
get in.
basically, that is everyone that listens to or watches this podcast, and about 90% of my LinkedIn followers. So yeah, don't hesitate on this one. Oculus, not only do you get support with the finance, which of course is super important, but they also have strong arms in terms of outreach and marketing. They are very generous with their Facebook advertising for obvious reasons. So yeah, don't wait on this one. Get involved.
Yeah, certainly. The main caveat though is that you need to have formed a company or your studio after April 2023. So if it's February 2023, you're out. No good. Okay. So that's the main thing. And they're also after the game concepts they're after are quite broad, but they are particularly looking at simulations, sort of family games, and the real sort of broad mainstream type of game. They don't want anything too niche. So, well, something to consider.
Like I say, I think it's very worthwhile. And yeah, everyone who is new to the scene, as I say, we welcome newcomers. And if you are a newcomer in here, look it up. You never know where it's going to lead.
Exactly.
And more positive note for developers, it seems that Vive, HTC Vive, have revealed some interesting details about Viveport.
Yes,
Pete?
money. Brilliant. We all like money, and developers like to get a bigger share of it, which they will do on Viveport. So Vive have announced that from the 1st of April, for any new games coming out, developers will get 90%. So that's a fair old chunk considering that most platforms are usually a 70-30 split. And retroactively, if your game's already on Viveport, that starts from the first. That started from the 1st of March, so it's already happening for those developers with a title on there.
So personally, I see this as a bit of a not a double-edged sword. There is no downside to this for developers, but there is the fact that Viveport is not the biggest VR marketplace. It's not the biggest platform. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest that you opt to publish on Viveport over Steam for this revenue share, but certainly it is worthwhile to work with Vive to bring your title to Viveport because it's an extra revenue stream. There are users using the platform. It's not Steam. It's not the Quest Store, the Meta Store, sorry, but it is still another platform where there are users in VR and there are users that want to purchase content on that platform. So again, it's certainly something that developers should consider, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, certainly. It, like you say, it's another revenue source for them. It might be smaller than Steam and the Quest Store, but it's still there. So
More so than PlayStation VR 2, which certainly is seeming to be less and less here. So a bit of negative news. Sadly, it seems every week in this podcast when we're covering the latest news from the previous week, there's always something negative amongst all the goodwill that we have. And this time, it is the sad old PlayStation VR 2, which is essentially they're pausing production because they're saying the headset stockpiling, which means it's not selling, which I think everybody in VR knew was the case, which is a shame because it is a fantastic headset. But you know, it is software that sells hardware, and there isn't any for PlayStation VR 2. Well, at least no first party, no big hitting games.
yeah, that's right. There haven't been any big party titles out for a little while now, have there? Really, it's lasting on third-party titles, and some of them have had horrendous launches on PSVR 2 at the moment. So those 2 million headsets that Sony have made are now languishing in stores around the world that nobody can shift.
In my personal opinion, the trouble with PlayStation VR 2 is the same as the trouble with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X for that matter, in that the reliance on first party has got difficult because games like Spider-Man 2 and Starfield and whatever else, traditional flat games, are taking more and more resources, and they are significantly outselling anything on VR. So a company like Sony, who has multiple platforms to support, are going to support the one which is bringing in the most revenue.
Mm.
It's a simple numbers game. Yeah, I mean, the fact that there are no first-party Sony games releasing this year on any platform is it's worrying for VR because if you're not releasing anything on PlayStation 5, then definitely not PlayStation VR anytime soon.
Yes, it is a worrying state of affairs. So it's probably why they're looking at PC VR support. There you go.
Yes, I mean unlocking the hardware so what runs on it runs with PCs for PC VR games. That is not going to generate them any additional revenue. What it is going to do is it's going to satisfy the people, well, some of the people that have bought a PlayStation VR 2 and are calling out for software where there isn't any, and suddenly now it's like it's all right, I can use it with my PC instead. Now the crossover between people that own a PlayStation VR 2 and a powerful PC, I don't know what that Venn diagram looks like. But I imagine it's a decent percentage of people that have adopted the hardware. Because considering the price of the PlayStation VR 2, the fact that it costs more than a PlayStation 5. So, I mean, it's like a it's like a handshake while looking away from somebody. You know, it's like, here you go. Be satisfied with this.
Or maybe VR owners are after a new headset and they might go for a PS5,
It is a very good
PS5,
quality
PSVR 2.
It is a very good quality headset. So personally, I would argue for don't show Vive this, but I would argue for a PlayStation VR 2 for PC over a Vive right now. But you know, we'll see if it actually does makes the needle move at all. And anyway, moving on to some more positive news once again. Last story from the previous week is Riven VR. Now, for anyone who is an old school gamer, much like myself and Pete, who is an even older school gamer because he's so much
Thank
older than
you.
me.
Yes, I'm a little bit older. Thank you.
So Riven is the official successor to Myst, and Myst with a Y was a super popular adventure game in the I want to say early 90s.
Yeah, Myst was 93 and Riven was 97. So
So there are many people watching this that weren't born then, I would assume. But they were classic adventure games that are super popular. And Riven is being remade for VR, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had Mist VR back in 2020, I think it was. So it feels like a natural successor to bring Riven into VR as well. So Cyan Worlds are remaking it using Unreal Engine 5, so it should look very nice and pretty, hopefully. And you'll be able to full 3D walk around the world like you could do in Mist. So there'll be some nice new modern features.
Great. That's
Yeah,
nice.
that's it. If you want to play all the puzzles are going to be the same, so it's still going to be a
So don't
25 year
replay
old.
Riven.
No,
Don't replay
25
Riven before the
plus.
VR version comes out. It'll kind of spoil the experience.
Yeah,
But I mean, I played both Mist and Riven back in the days, back in the day, when I was but a wee lad. And I can't remember any of the puzzles now. Uh,
no. But
great.
there'll be lots of solutions online. I would have thought maybe on some really old AOL servers or somewhere like that, you'll find a Riven guide.
Log into MySpace for that link that you saved years ago. Anyway, yeah. So congrats to Sign Worlds. We look forward to seeing Riven in VR. And yeah, thank you again, everybody that I saw at GDC. It was great to meet everybody and share on the projects that you're working on. There's some very exciting stuff coming down the line. And yeah, we at Tiny Brains hope to share more of it with you soon. Thank you very much for watching, everybody.
Thank you again.